I just got to switch over my sources here.
Right
I
on.
forgot to do that before. Choose your output. So this is going through the wrong thing. Of course it is.
That's what she
Uh,
said, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're not kidding. Uh,
I'm gonna use these headphones because I've noticed the last few chats when I move away, because I'm one of those guys that just
yeah.
moves.
Oh, I
Um,
do that all the time. It
yeah,
drives our producer for the Zappa show, in particular, Bill. Poor Bill. It drives him absolutely insane because I have a tendency to kind of jiggle out of position, and
right.
then then it's a nightmare for him having to readjust those levels, in the edit
Oh
and all
my
that
God.
stuff.
What's his name? What's his name again?
Oh, Bill Camerata.
Bill Camarada. Shout out to you, sir. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, he's Bill's the best. He has a show of his own called Bill's Box of Sound, which is on YouTube.
Okay.
And we got him when our original producer, Phil Circus, left the show a couple of years ago. And he's been, yeah. Bill is the world's most patient producer, as I always say.
Well,
So,
like I said, I mean, we need it takes a village to get a podcast going and to
yeah, it sure does.
get a YouTube channel. So. But
Yeah.
Scott Parker, welcome to the Fireside Chat with me, with Angel. For all my television friends who are not familiar with Scott Parker, first and foremost, he's a family man. He's
Yes.
a musician. He's also an author of many books on the late great Frank Zappa, the multi-volume Frank Zappa in the Studio and Frank on Stage. The Waldo scrapbook. Uh,
Ah, yes.
your late friend and musical guide, kind of like your I don't know what you call him, like your musical
Mentor,
Sherpa.
I
Yeah,
think.
mentors are
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Waldo Quadrato, which
Yeah.
do you
Walt
know
Quadrado.
the translation of that Quadrato?
I actually don't, and I should ask because his widow Ginny is like a really good friend of mine, and I should ask her if there's hidden meanings in that. You
I
never
mean,
know.
it translates to square.
Oh, does it?
Yeah,
Square. Oh, that's interesting. Four
yeah.
sides.
Yeah, so I mean I
Ah.
thought about that. I'm like, oh wow, okay. So this guy, I want to know more about him. But I know about you the most is
Mm.
your amazing podcast shows. The
Oh, thank you.
Zappacast uh
Yeah.
started in 2011, which is yeah, I remember where I was when I first heard the Zappacast by Scott Parker.
Oh yeah.
Um
Where did you first hear it? I'm curious.
so this was 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
I started as one does, searching for any, entertainment, especially where I lived in Chicago. I had a train, I would take the train to work. So I'd have
Yeah.
like lots of time to kill. And I'm like, oh, like, and having an Apple phone, this, podcast app pops
Oh
up.
yes.
And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, I could put anything in here and just like something will come out.
Yeah.
And then just randomly, I'm like, oh, let me see if there's anything on Frank Zappa. And you're the first, your Zappacast episode. I think it was the alternate Freakout album.
The first one. Yeah. That was the
Yeah.
first episode.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I'm like, holy cow, this is what I've been looking for. Uh, and then from there, you've been doing that for, geez, over, yeah, it's what, 10,
14 years
14
now.
years, yeah.
It's crazy. I'm getting old.
The show, you keep getting older, and the show just keeps going, right?
Yeah.
It's like that never ages.
No, the show keeps getting better because I'm not producing it anymore. So that's what's
Oh,
great about it.
I mean, and how many like I mean, up until you got assist, and then obviously you're officially sanctioned by the Zappa family, which is like huge. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like you're part of the family, which is nuts. And I'm going to talk more about that.
Yeah,
And then you
absolutely.
have another brilliant podcast. I'm just going to plug you, but
Oh, sure.
the Keep the
I
Dream
never do.
Flowing, celebrating the history of Woodstock 1969, which I've
Yes.
just started to get into more and more and finding really cool stuff because as you as well, are obsessed with that uh, festival
Yeah.
and all the,
Big time. Big time.
and you've gotten to talk to a lot of, same with the Zappacast, you've gotten to talk to some of the people that have worked with Zappa and the people that were at Woodstock or worked at Woodstock. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
doing the service to memorialize these stories and to like, yeah, give a lot of stories that have never been told, you know, on record so that,
Yeah.
accessible for people. But the most important question of the night, and I've been saying, I wanted to start you off here is we have a connection.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm ready for it.
Our dear friend Chris, the Gen X Muse,
Ah,
McGovern.
yes.
I've just gotten to know them in the last couple months, but you and Chris have a long history, and I want to know, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
and
How'd that come about?
yeah, where did it all begin with you and Chris?
Oh God, we were kids, but you're going back to when I was about, this is 1990, I think. So, I would be about mm, 18, 19 when I first met Chris.
Okay.
And Chris was hanging around this same record store that I used to work at in Sandy Hook, Newtown, here in
Okay.
Connecticut. And the store was called Tunes, and those were the days. And
Tunes. And there was like another, isn't it kind of a chain or is
no,
it
it was just the one store.
oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like a little mom and pop thing. It sold
Uh,
CDs. It wasn't super exciting, but it was the only place in that area for sure. There's a couple record stores there now, but nothing, there was nothing, no life in Sandy Hook at the time,
hmm.
and which is where I grew up. And um, so I was introduced to Chris by my boss, Carl, who basically said to me, "Well, there's this at the time guy who's a keyboard player, and Chris has since become non-binary, so
Hmm.
just for public information anyway."
Yeah.
So it just said, well, maybe you and Chris should get together and play some music together. And we did. We had a band. We played a bunch of shows in the early 90s until I got very burnt out very quickly. And I realized that, the rock and roll lifestyle and all the attendant things that go with it probably wasn't for me. So
Was that your only band that you were in as far as like, what was the name of that group?
it was called Magenta Passport, of
So
all
this is
things.
Magenta Passport. This is
Yeah,
what,
this is that band.
okay.
And we recorded a bunch of stuff, which eventually I'm going to put back out there. But the reason for me to put it back out there is that Chris is such a fabulous songwriter.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I'm a songwriter too, but Chris very much has the edge, probably still to this day, on me as a songwriter. Chris's stuff needs to be appreciated more because the best stuff that Chris did is just incredible.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I'm playing, because I do play around, I have a little band, like more or less a bar band over here, and we do shows every once in a while. And sometimes when I'm playing, I'll play one of Chris's songs,
Oh,
just because I think they're great songs. And
no, he's a good songwriter. Yeah. And
yeah,
actually, and
yeah,
that group is Tablature. That's the name of the,
tablature, yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. No.
The dreaded tablature over here in Connecticut, and we do, we have fun with it. We're not too old
Yeah.
yet
I
to
mean,
do it,
right. Jeez.
and I have more fun doing it now than I did when I was younger and a lot more serious about what I did. Um, I think we were just like all kids. We were too serious, but it was really interesting playing music in the early 90s and coming up in that scene that we would now recognize as being the alternative music scene because we were almost too quirky. We almost didn't fit into any real category. And but we kind of aligned ourselves with the alternative scene that was coming up there, and it was a lot of fun getting to see, um, a lot of the the local bands that played, you know, kind of not grunge stuff, but Sonic Youth type of things and all that kind of stuff. It was cool. It was a cool time to play music. I'm not sure that young people really get that kind of shake. And a lot of venues back in those days, they would just let you do what you did. So you could go there and play 2 hours of songs nobody ever heard, and people
Yeah.
would actually listen to it. Good, by God. So it was fun back then. Um,
Yeah, I want to know more about that because obviously my interests are Chicago centric, and
yeah.
we had a very I mean we still do, but not as I guess not as cohesive or not as like connected as it used to be.
Yeah.
Things are happening, but it's kind of satellite. But growing up in the around the same time you were playing music, I was going to see a lot of all ages hardcore shows,
Yeah.
and then I'd go to see quirky stuff as well. So, but yeah, what I mean, and yeah, and Chris gave me a little taste of like just what East Coast the scene was. But what like did you play with anybody that of note or how yeah, what was the Magenta Passport experience
Uh,
like?
Not really. I mean, we had different. I mean, the band had about 27,000 people in it at one
Oh,
time or another, and
nice.
and it was just what people could kind of handle because we would play. Just in terms of the songs that we would cover, we would run the gamut from like I don't know, from we actually wound up doing a couple of Nirvana things because Chris and I like went crazy for them almost before they became like really big.
Yeah.
And to the Velvet Underground, and if we had to play like a college uh type of show, we would do, Velvet Underground stuff, but then we'd do these weird experimental improvisations that would just drive people crazy. And the band actually, before Chris joined, I was more like into the lunatic fringe of the avant-garde,
Okay.
partly because I didn't really know what I was doing on the guitar at the time, but we could do, like the first show that I ever played, and this was with the Passport back in '88. We rented out this theater in Newtown, Connecticut, called the Edmond Town Hall, and we played one song, which was uh, Interstellar Overdrive by Pink Floyd,
Oh
and we
yeah.
played it for 3 hours.
Oh. It's like the Dream Syndicate.
It
Just
was. It was totally like the Dream Syndicate. And we played it. That was the inspiration, by the way.
uh,
Like the early Dream Syndicate / early Velvet Underground.
yes.
So we played this thing for 3 hours, and I don't think there was anybody left in the room after the first 15 minutes. But to me, there was sort of a vindication there.
Yeah. I mean
If
that's
we could drive an audience out of the room with that, then that made it all worthwhile. So, I mean, now when I look back on it, I think, like all my other friends were playing like, what would be now your standard classic rock repertoire. And I was always they were always more successful than we were, and I have to admit to a slight amount of jealousy over that. But now I can understand it because, you know, you can't really bend an audience to, if they want to hear Kansas or something, you can't really bend them to your will, to listen to, 3 hours of, just
Yeah.
almost grind, very slow grindcore kind of stuff.
But
Chris helped, though. Chris helped turn us into a band that actually could play some melody, melodic things and all that stuff. And that was great. We needed that.
So Chris was like the David Gilmour in a way, like bringing in and can still hang and be weird but
oh yeah, no, Chris was as quirky as I am, so that was great. And Chris was also by far the best musician in the band at that time. So just in terms of songwriting and in terms of musicianship in general, I had to up my game. And I like having somebody in the band that I could, be, that forces me to be better, because otherwise I can get really lazy and complacent and, have a couple of extra beers. So
right.
I can totally do that.
It's funny. I was having this conversation with an old friend of mine. The same thing. Like,
I
think playing with others helps you be a better musician, and kind of like. But it all depends on it's all alchemy anyway. It's like a magic kind of like putting people together and.
Yeah, I think I had a good chemistry with Chris. So. Chris, there were people in the band that Chris didn't really get along with and all of that stuff. And I generally would side with Chris on just about everything because I just genuinely thought that Chris made the band better. And that was one of the pressures that we had to deal with. But Chris went on to make a couple of really good albums, which I don't know if Chris played you any of that material, but
Chris has been sharing things with me, like I used a couple of their songs for our episode.
Yes, that's right.
In particular, Personal Best, which I told Chris, like that's basically an arena rock emo anthem.
Yeah.
Like, and
Chris was born too early, I think, like if Chris put those songs out there now, I think it would be, you'd get more interest,
Yeah.
Whereas, I've drifted more into James Taylor territory. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I wish.
I mean, we're getting all mellow. Yeah. No,
I'm getting, my daughter's going to be 30 next year, so I'm getting more mellow.
Wow. Yeah. Time to put on that Carole King record or.
Yeah, exactly.
where the, what is it? The, what do you call it? Those, loafers and the
I'm ready for it.
Yeah,
I'm ready for it. Hang up my rock and roll shoes. Is this no, not really.
But so before we get into your musical journey, which we kind of start a little bit, I definitely want to ask one last thing about Chris, and that's the Dylan concert, the Bob Dylan concert.
The Ives Center, at the time, back in those days, this is 91. So the Ives Center, the Charles Ives Center, sort of sneaky little Zappa, synergy there, was an outdoor concert venue on this little lake in Danbury, Connecticut, which is next to Newtown. And Dylan played there, and it was in the middle of my recollection is it's in the middle of the afternoon. I think the whole gig took place in the daylight. So it was really bizarre. And there weren't that many. I mean, there were a couple thousand people there, I think.
Yeah.
They used to have concerts there all the time. They stopped doing it for, years ago. But Dylan comes out, and I think the first song was New Morning, if I'm not mistaken. and he appeared to be really drunk. I mean, that was my that was my thinking. Like he seemed to be really he was having a good time up there. Like,
Okay.
he was really enjoying himself. And, it was the first time that I had seen him. And I think the first time that Chris had seen him.
Yeah.
And so you play that challenging guessing game if you're not, if you're not as immersed in his live, performance deal as I am now.
Yeah.
You play that challenging guessing game of what song is he playing?
Right.
There's nothing in your living. Anyway, I'm not alone. You say you're looking for someone. Pick you up every time you fall.
That is like every review or
Yeah.
recollection. It's like, it took me about a minute to find out that he was playing, One Too Many Mornings. I'm like shit.
Yeah. And it was like, I can't remember. Did he do Masters of War? He might have at that show. And it was always like, can I guess what the song is before he gets to the chorus? And so, and that was just, and I thought, well, maybe it was because he was messed up, but actually that's how he did things. And that's great. So, the funny part comes at the end of the show and he plays like Rolling Stone. And this girl, there was like this on both sides of the stage, there were these two little bridges that were going over this little, I call it a lake, but it's more like a pond.
Okay.
That's right in front of the stage. If you've ever seen the Hollywood Bowl, there's a body of water. There's famous pictures of girls trying to get to Jimi Hendrix, and they're splashing around in this little pool of water in front of the stage. Yeah. And so there's this little pool of water there with these bridges on either side. And this girl comes, just your standard issue hippie chick of the time. She comes up and she has a skirt on and, it's long and flowing and all that stuff. And she starts dancing on the side of the stage. So the security goes for her. And you can hear this on the tape of the show. Bob goes, "Hey, leave that girl alone." And so they do, and the security just leaves her alone. And then within a couple minutes, she goes for Bob. So she like runs to him, and he freaks out. And my recollection, and I wonder how close this is to Chris's because I gotta check that. But Bob almost like ran around like she was chasing him around the stage. And then he wound up sort of crouched between where the piano and the drums were. Ooh. And he stayed there for like a couple minutes instead of running off stage. He just was like that. And then the show just ended. There was no encore. So, that was, and so for years, Chris and I have, when I've talked to Chris, we always go, "Hey, leave that girl alone," and so, or something smells good. That was the other thing. Good, yeah.
Something smells good. What is that? It smells so good.
And I guess Chris was telling me that to their recollection that young woman was, I guess, responsible for bringing Dylan to the show. At least that's what Chris.
That could be.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I mean, it was a while ago, but I think it's entirely possible because normally in a situation like that, she would never even have the opportunity to get anywhere near that little bridge that she walked over. So, I think it's very possible that he knew her. Yeah. But it was funny because she just I think she wanted to either go up to the microphone or to hug him or something. And he just completely lost it. He completely flipped out. And, it was a weird ending to a really interesting show. I've seen Bob, millions of times since then.
Yeah. I only got to see him once, and I told the story to Chris that I used to do catering,
No.
and Bob Dylan was doing, I think, 4 shows at this venue. I don't know if you're familiar with the Aragon Ballroom or
Oh yeah, of course.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is, legendary venue, but also one of the worst sounding venues, like with the worst acoustics.
Yeah.
And we, I was there for dinner, and basically what that means is you're at the venue all night until everybody
Hmm.
leaves, and then you can just pick up your stuff and go. So,
Yeah.
and I'm setting up dinner, and then I look on stage, and the band's setting up, and I see this guy wearing a hoodie,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm and he looked like kind of from a distance, like looked homeless. I'm like, who let this homeless guy on stage? And he was smoking a cigarette. I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, that's, like this guy's asking for trouble because the people that at the Aragon don't play. And then,
Yeah.
and then it finally dawned, and I looked a little closer. I'm like, oh my God, that's Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
And this was, sound check. So he was directing the band or kind of like telling them what to play. And then he disappeared. He was gone for like the entire night until it was time to play. And at that point, he stopped. This is when he stopped playing guitar. He was just now he's Mr.
Piano.
Keys.
Yep.
Yeah. And I don't know. Have you heard stories about Dylan and his piano and his bus?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Very many.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that he sat there. Nobody was bothering him. Nothing.
No, I mean, he was with the band, so he was on stage, and yeah, he was like pretty much on his own. So,
Oh, that's very cool that you got to see him off stage. I would definitely never have approached him.
oh
Just
no,
because well, I mean, his privacy is a big thing to him, but
yeah,
because I'm a besotted Dylan freak. Like, I have been pretty much my whole life. So it's just so cool that you got to see him. But he's like, I put him up there with Lou Reed on the list of guys that I adore but would never want to meet.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I've tried not to meet all my heroes, but the few that I've met have been like, nice moments, and like I'll leave it at that. But
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I noticed, and the first of my real heroes that I met was Mo Tucker from the Velvet Underground. I know
yeah.
Mo pretty well, fairly well, and we've hung out together, we've had dinner and all that stuff, and
Oh wow,
and I love her to death, even though we disagree politically.
yeah, I was
But
yeah,
but the thing with meeting your idols is that it to me it changes fundamentally your relationship to the music, at least to me,
yeah,
because they, I guess maybe because I was, you put these people on such a high pedestal, and then you find out, oh, they're just like people.
yeah.
So
Complicated and just
it's weird. Like they're flesh and blood, and they are just normal, people. And I think that goes back for me when I first saw Peter Gabriel live. This would be in '86.
Ooh, okay.
So he was on the So tour, and I knew at that time, and there was a certain point in his show where he was going to jump out into the audience, and I knew this was going to happen.
Yeah,
Being a huge collector and all this other stuff, and so he jumps out in the audience, and I grabbed his arm like that, and I was just like, and my sister who had taken me to the show, I was only like 14
mhm.
at the time. And I came back, and she's like, how was it? Because I thought, this guy's gonna touch my hand, and I'm gonna be, healed, and whatever the frig it is that you're supposed to get. It's supposed to deep spiritual connection. So now I was like shaking my next door neighbor's hand.
Right.
I was like, that's weird. And so, but as a kid, you idolize these people, and and then you find out that they're just people. So.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you later about when I met Frank
Oh
Zappa.
yeah,
Yeah,
I've
which
heard
was
that.
an interesting and fun story. But
Yeah,
that didn't change my relationship to anything. If anything, it, sort of strengthened my connection to the music. So that was
there
a
you
little
go.
bit different.
Yeah. And like music, I mean, obviously is a big part of your life, and I want to know about your journey musically. Like what got you, what was the thing that you heard musically that affected you?
Well, actually, if I can find it, I have it here.
Oh,
in front of me because I had pulled it, not specifically for our interview, but just uh, because of recent events. So it was actually this.
mm-hmm.
Yes. And this belonged to my brother in
Okay.
this would be 1976.
Oh, wow.
And this is a first press of this album from 1974. Anybody out there who knows about Kiss knows that when I say this is the first press without the song "Kissin' Time," that's what it is.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
an original first press.
Holy cow.
And anyway, what happened was my brother is 8 years older than me, and he went to see Kiss in concert at Springfield Civic Center in Massachusetts. So this would be March of '76. I eventually looked it up. And
Okay.
but he used to follow me around with this, trying to terrify me.
I mean, that
You
is
know,
a terrifying. I used to
it,
get scared of Kiss as a kid. I mean,
yeah, and I was
yeah.
just, and it worked. I was absolutely terrified. So one day I took this very copy of this record and I laid it down on my sister's bed and I just stared it down until I got used to it.
Oh,
And then when he came home from school, because I wasn't in school at the time, I was only 4. I said, put it on. And he put it on and I just loved it. I was just like, oh, this is okay. So this is music. And so that was my first real exposure to music. I mean, that really connected with me. But I think that I mean, honestly, the visual stuff was just as important as the music at that
sure.
time. And then it was, I think, about 2 months later or so that I heard the Beatles on the radio
Okay.
and doing "Got to Get You Into My Life," which in '76 was a hit single. It was a top 10 hit single.
Right. Yeah.
And my whole world stopped and I was just like, what is this? And I just started voraciously collecting I had a very indulgent mother and she would just, I always say like, there's a song actually on the new, Jeff Tweedy album, from Wilco.
Oh, yeah.
He has a song on his new triple album, Twilight Override, which is called Lou Reed Was My Babysitter. It's about that experience that I think we all had of collecting these records when we were kids, or records, CDs, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and being immersed in that world of music
Yeah.
where your family doesn't really see you like growing
Right.
up because you're just around your records. And I think that's what it was. I mean, I always tell the story to my daughter that by New Year's Eve of 1979, when I was 7, I'd already had 100 records in my collection at
Wow.
that point, which was a massive amount. I sat there and counted the whole thing. And I was just like, wow, there's 100 records in here. And so I was voraciously buying anything I could. The Beatles progressed to Pink Floyd, to The Who, to Genesis, to Led Zeppelin, of course, because somewhat funny story. When I was about 4 or 5, I was playing Aqualung by Jethro Tull on my little record player in the living room. And my sister came roaring out of her room. She said, turn that crap off and put this on. She handed me Houses of the Holy
Oh,
by Led Zeppelin. So I put that on. I was just like, wow, what's this? So I have 4 sisters and a brother, and they were all, pretty much big music fans. And that's where a lot of this comes from. And it just so happened that, like, weird things would happen that have greater import later. Like somewhere around 76 or 77, so I'd be 4 or 5, somewhere in there. My brother-in-law, Rick, came back from, during Vietnam, he'd been stationed in Korea, so he didn't fight in
oh, wow.
Vietnam, but he'd been in Korea. And he came back with all of these pirated, horrible Taiwanese or
Yeah.
Korean records. You saw those with the faded covers and those
Yeah.
the black on red labels. You can't read any of it. But one of the records he came back with was the Woodstock soundtrack album, and and he just gave all these records to me, and I put on the record, and it's the weirdest thing because I knew nothing whatsoever about Woodstock. And all I had was this very crappy, faded version of the album cover that came with it. It was like paper thin sleeves,
Oh, yeah.
it was just so poorly produced. But there was something about the music that made me feel like I was there. And I knew nothing about it. I had no idea what Woodstock was really, except that a bunch of bands played.
Yeah.
And that started me on that part of that journey because I became completely obsessed with it, especially when I got a book about it, which would be in 78 or 79, called Barefoot in Babylon, which was one of the first books ever written about Woodstock, a guy named Robert Spitz. And so I think that and some of the early Beatles books that I got really launched me into the history of it all, and that's really important to me because everything I do, I look at it at least in part from a historical perspective, I mean, sitting next to me now, there's about 4 Pink Floyd encyclopedia type things because I've been doing a deep dive into that, and one book about Ed Wood, the director. And so
the greatest director
of all time,
of all
time, baby.
Yeah. No, we get down with Ed Wood, and of course, people are afraid to talk about Pink Floyd with me because I will go into the weeds, and in fact, like,
actually, here I've got this book here, Random Precision, which is recording the music of Syd Barrett. 1965 to 1974. Highly recommended. I think it's kind of hard to find these days, but it's all these session sheets and tracking information for his records and all that stuff. And I do all these just for my own sort of enjoyment. I put together these collections that have every scrap of recorded everything by whatever artist I can get my hands on. And it's all highly curated and all that stuff. I did that with Woodstock actually because I put together a project called Woodstock Complete, and that started about 25 years ago, and that sought to put every scrap of everything that would radio broadcast, interviews, whatever I could find into this digestible thing that takes you more than 3 days to listen to if you go straight through it. And that's the historian in me. So, to me, it's like, it's definitely like building a ship in a bottle musically. But since the late 70s, I've been set off on this course of really having to know as much as I can and to have as much as I can. I'm a greedy slob. What can I say?
Well, and that's important. And I think that's it turns you from just being a consumer, passive listener to delving into not only how was it made, who made it,
yep,
where, all the from basically from tail to snout, how was this? And I drive all my friends nuts because I will go into okay, connecting this person and that person to X, Y, and Z. Getting into the history of music, is that what led you to be a writer, or how did the writing part come?
It did. I mean, when I again, you're going back, all this stuff that's formative to me all happened in the late 70s. So I had 2 real main loves at the time. When one was music, and the other was the writings of J.R.R. Tolkien. So I either wanted to be a musician or a writer, and I kind of wound up being both. But there were some books that were really music books that were really formative to me. like Barefoot in Babylon, that book about Woodstock, or a book by a guy named Nicholas Schaffner that changed my life called The Beatles Forever,
Oh yeah.
and just these biographies, you know.
Yeah.
And so later, many years later, I had gotten out. I finally had shuffled off my banker days because I had
Oh, you were a
worked in
banker
banking for
before?
a while. I was for a while, yeah. And I said, well, if I'm going to do something to honor my hero, Frank Zappa, if I'm going to do something to honor him, and we'll get to the backstory behind that, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
I figured now or never. But everything that I had done, or everything I'd read up to that point, led to that moment. So I can tell, like, when I'm reading something that I've written, oh no, I stole that idea from this person, or I stole that
Yeah.
idea from that person.
Right.
I think, we're just nothing but a combination of our influences.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think it's, and with a lot of artists that we follow, like a lot of these things come from, there wouldn't be a Beatles without like early rock and roll
Yeah,
or
Elvis or the Crickets.
yeah,
Sure.
like the stuff didn't really happen in a vacuum. Hold
Oh
on,
yeah,
babe,
no,
can I get
no,
some more
nobody
coffee?
came fully formed. I mean,
Yeah,
without Big Mama Thornton, there might be no Elvis Presley. It's that kind of thing.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
Hank
yeah.
or Hank Williams, for that
Right,
matter.
right. So, so that's cool. Yeah, and then what? So now we're getting into like podcasting. Like what? How was that? Was that kind of sorry, this cat.
Oh no, that's okay. No, that's cool.
Lucy, don't get in the
I'm not
shot,
allowed to
Lucy.
have a cat. My wife won't let me have one again. So, no, she
Oh,
doesn't like the cats when they jump up on the counter.
oh
On
yeah.
the where she's making
Thank you, babe.
food. So, right. No, I'm kidding. I suppose I would be allowed to have one, but we have two dogs, one of which is Franklin, the loudest dog ever in the history of the world. So,
What kind of dog is Franklin?
he's a Lhasa Poo. He's a Lhasa Apso and Poodle mix. So to
Oh,
have a part poodle that is named Frank is, you know, that's
I
sort of
mean,
winning for me.
yeah, it's all part of the
It all fits.
yeah, it's continuity. The what do you call it again? The what did
Oh,
Frank call it?
conceptual continuity.
Conceptual
Sure.
continuity in effect.
Yeah, and we have another dog named Oliver, who is a Shih Tzu, and he's extremely paranoid, but he's all Shih Tzus are,
Yeah,
and that I mean that's why I like cats because they're not really paranoid about anything.
no,
They don't care really about much of anything
yeah,
except their own personal gratification, and I'm here for it,
yeah.
so.
Well, enjoy Mittens because like I said, he's like our Lucille Ball trying to get into the shop at office.
Yeah. Lucy.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh no.
During the we didn't even talk about your Woodstock uh Gen X Muse episode
Oh
there,
yes. Yeah.
where some nudity was happening, some psychedelic Zoom
Yeah.
misfire. Hmm.
Because they get mainly because they get to talk to people get to hear from Joe, the Vaultmeister, as we call him. He gets to talk about the new album and what was put together and all that other stuff. So it was cool. And then I got to write the liner notes for the last one, so I was happy about that. It's ridiculous,
I
really.
swear to God, this thing is so silly. It's like I'm tripping out here, you know?
I know. Is it moving at all on your end?
No, it just
right?
keeps going back and forth between one shot and the other, and they're different colors. It
Oh,
looks
strange.
like a really bad amateur's version of like a psychedelic movie.
That's really weird. Camera frame. It's never done this before. It's so typical, though, really.
Between that and me being naked and everything, I mean, I
Yes, it was very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, God knows nobody would want to see any sort of, nudity from me, God knows. But
Oh, you'd be
but
surprised.
yeah, I know, really. But yeah, no, it was fun. I'm gonna go back on Chris's show again soon. Chris was doing that show No, I don't think Chris was doing podcasting before me, but had the idea independent of me because
Okay.
Chris, of course, lives in Arizona now.
Yeah.
So I mean, I haven't seen Chris in quite a few years, but hopefully we'll get Chris back out to Connecticut one of these days. Get Chris up to Chicago.
Well, Chris, yeah, exactly. And Chris says that you still have a beautiful face. So.
Ah, well, thank you very much.
Chris wanted me to tell you that. So.
Oh, thank you, Chris.
They were blown away that we know each other, even though we've never really met or just through the online.
This is very cool. I'm really, I just wanted to say too, in case I don't say it later, I'm really, really super thankful to you for supporting, all these various silly things that I get involved in, because they are, a lot of it is just silly, but I'm driven by this compulsion to just do it, Yeah. And, I can feel a little bit of what Frank Zappa must have felt like in his creative process, although obviously you can't compare the two because what he did was change the world for a lot of people. But whereas I'm just chronicling things, but I have to get up and create every day, or I don't feel, which is why there's 500,000 books out there and all that stuff. Yeah. It's a good discipline too. It saves me from, just, sort of flitting my life away on, making these highly curated projects, music projects that nobody will ever hear other than me.
Right. But also, and I want to give a shout out to your Substack. Which
thank you. Yes.
I forgot to mention that at the top. So so you got into the Substack game, the continuing adventures.
Frank Zappa Research, the continuing adventures. I couldn't come up with a better name. It's such a mouthful. But sometimes I'm really bad at naming things until I have to do it, Yeah. And then something will usually pop into my mind. But I want to do right now. It's all Frank Zappa stuff, but I want to do like Pink Floyd stuff and other stuff that I haven't really had the opportunity to do. I was kind of influenced to do that by there's two things. One is this guy named Jeff Tiedrich, who, if people haven't heard, it's Jeff, Jeff, TIEDRICH.com. And he is a very, very brutally wonderful political commentator who reminds me of sort of the political commentary of a Frank Zappa. And I can't recommend Tiedrich's work enough. Because he's just so good, and he's just not afraid to being a person of the left. Spoiler alert, kids.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. You have to have your anger at what's happening today sort of in sort of fused with a certain amount of humor, and that is, I think, what is missing from a lot of political discourse these days is this sort of tear the paint off, sort of humor, this corrosive humor. And I think Zappa would have certainly have indulged in that. And another was this guy who does this Dylan Substack, which is called Flagging Down the Double E's, where he basically reviews, or he's made it his job to review every Bob Dylan concert ever, which I hope he lives long enough to do that. But that's another one. If you get a chance to check that out, I can't recommend that enough either, because he's better than me. God damn it!
So that's who you're up against right now.
That's who I'm up against. That's who I strive to be.
There you go. You got to aim for that.
Yeah, it's a good way. It's a good way to connect with people, and if it makes any, if people subscribe to it, that's great. If people pay $5 a month to subscribe to it, that's great. I don't care that
Yeah.
much, you know, and I try to make everything that I do just sort of as available as I can. And, you know, it's fun for me. I mean, I get to talk, you know, particularly with the Zappa thing, I get to talk about subjects that maybe are not, you know, you couldn't write a book about. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's that kind of thing.
And it's only $5, folks. So please,
It is.
I am a subscriber and a paid
Thank you.
subscriber.
Thank you, Angel.
And no,
You're
yeah,
an
my
angel,
pleasure.
Angel.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you for, just saying the kind words about, you know, because obviously, like I've been following you for a long time, and one of the
That's so
things with the whole Jimmy Kimmel controversy and,
yeah.
and people like, you know, deactivating their Hulu, you know, and Paramount Plus account, which I had already done some time ago. But you know, I came to a point where I'm like, you know, instead of, you know, paying, you know, these, I mean, I already have enough like subscriptions to things.
Yeah.
And once I took those out, I'm like, I found myself with a little bit of extra cash. So I'm like, let me support my man Scott.
Thank you.
And also I did the same for my buddy JCM, the Led Zeppelin
Oh
stories.
yeah. He's great, isn't he? Led Zeppelin
he's
stories.
super cool. And we've been chatting since I became his patron.
Yeah.
And it's been great. I've actually blown his mind a little bit with some of the music that I've done on my own and I've shared with him. And
I want to check this stuff out, of course.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I mean,
you know,
there's
you'll have to direct me.
well, yeah, I'll send you a barrage.
Yes, please do, because I'd be very into it. But yeah, JCM, he's really, really good, and you know, the level of detail in the videos that he produces
Oh
for
my God.
YouTube and stuff is insane. You know, like this is the documentary that Led Zeppelin fans deserve and will never get officially. So
No. I mean, obviously you saw Becoming Led Zeppelin,
yes,
which was fun, and
that's fun.
I got into the whole like I always enjoy hearing about John Paul Jones's previous, you know, career as a session guy, and Jimmy Page, because that's stuff I get very like in the weeds on. But
yeah, me too. Yeah, because in the early '60s there were really two big session guitar players in London.
Yeah.
One was Jimmy Page, the other was Big Jim Sullivan. And Jimmy Page, you know, people to this day do not realize that on a lot of the early singles that were released in England during the British invasion, a lot of times that's Jimmy Page playing guitar.
yeah,
Including on I Can't Explain by The Who. You know, there's things you wouldn't think about, but yeah, in a lot of cases that's him, and that's, you know, it just blows your mind. So of course he was going to go on to do what he did.
yeah. And
He had to, really.
well, yeah, I mean, but how JCM covers like not only albums, he does tours, he does specific shows. So
yeah, I just was watching the marvelous his write up of the marvelous disaster that was Tempe 1977, the Led Zeppelin show, which was arguably the worst show that they ever played, and probably was the worst show that they ever played. I mean, the wheels just came off the bus at that show. And, you know, like, to me, it's the disaster shows in a lot of cases that are really the most fascinating.
Yeah.
When everything goes wrong.
Yeah.
And, you know, in the case of Led Zeppelin, Tempe was definitely the night where everything went wrong. And to me, that's incredibly entertaining.
I got to hear that show. But the one that I always, the two bad Zeppelin shows was the one at Chicago Stadium where Jimmy passed out.
Yeah.
And I have a friend who he was like a teen when he went to see Zeppelin. He was at that show.
Oh, really?
And he told me,
that's
like,
right, because you're there.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and he told me, yeah, man, I took a hit at mescaline before this, right at the beginning of the show, and I was starting to peak.
I had a mescaline.
and
they had a mescaline and goes to see Led Zeppelin.
I know. And then he was peaking, and then the show was over.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
by the
it-
time you get, well, the first sign of trouble, if you listen to the tape, is that they're supposed to play Nobody's Fault But Mine, and Jimmy starts playing Since I've Been Loving You, and then stops because he doesn't know what he's doing. And they do manage to get through about close to an hour of music before they have to stop. And they said later, oh, it was a severe bout of gastroenteritis not helped by firecrackers, is what Robert Plant says.
Oh,
and it's
my-
like, yeah, okay, it's gastroenteritis. Okay, so
yeah.
right on, Jimmy. So I love shows like that. I mean, to me, they're so historically, just interesting. But they're particularly on that '77 tour. I don't know how Jimmy Page got through a lot of those shows.
And those were epic, like 3.5, 4 hour long shows. So it's like,
Every single one of them
yeah.
that wasn't cut short by some sort of disaster happening was
No,
there isn't enough cocaine in the world for for that. So
Yeah.
no matter what Keith Richards tells you.
So we're going to take a necessary 5-minute break right now. So you must bear with us because Jimmy is very lucky to be even playing tonight. Okay? You give us 5 minutes, please.